Hi everyone, welcome to THT. Today I'm going to reveal two exclusive cards that were given to me by Fantasy Flight Games. So thank FFG here for supporting my channel. And if you've never been on my channel before, we are covering competitive Star Wars Unlimited content here, deck tech, tournament reports, spoiler analysis, all that good stuff. So if any of this sounds good to you, check out my other video and see if you like it. So I'm super excited to show you two of, in my opinion, some of the most powerful synergies I've ever seen in Star Wars Unlimited. So it is extremely exciting. But before we get into the new cards, let's get into first the leader that was revealed about 30 minutes ago by Fantasy Flight Game. It is the new leader, Poe Dameron. So I'm going to be reading that to you since it's brand new. It is a resistance pilot leader that reads, pay 1, exhaust, flip this leader and attach him as an upgrade to a friendly vehicle unit without a pilot on it. And the epic action is, if you control 5 or more resources, deploy this leader. And it specify in parentheses as a unit. So that's very important. And it is a rare leader in the aggression heroism aspect. So once he's deployed, he's basically just a 4/6 for 5 without any ability. However, when he's played as an upgrade using the ability, he gives +2/+1 to the vehicle that is attached to it, and he also has an ability that reads, pay 1, attach this upgrade to a friendly vehicle unit without a pilot on it. Use this ability only once each round. So, the interesting thing to note about these leaders that are very important to understand is, first, is a very good stat for a 5-cost leader. We're talking 4/6 of stats for 5 cost, which I think is pretty good. Is a pretty good ratio for a leader, even though it doesn't have an ability though. Once he's deployed, he has a recursive buff similar to Tarkin and Rey. So Tarkin, they can give +1/+1 to Imperials. Rey can give +1/+1 counters, experience for 1 to unit that have 2 health or less. Poe basically gives a +2/+1 to a vehicle by paying 1. Obviously, this upgrade system has a couple of inconveniences. First of all, it's an upgrade. You can only put it 1 into play at any given time. It can move around, though. You can pay 1 to move that upgrade around from one place to another. Even though I think this is fairly situational. But as I said, I think the +2/+1 bonus is significant enough that I think in terms of power level, it is kind of on the same power level as Tarkin and Rey. Something worth noticing is, like, as opposed to leaders that deploys and give the buff to a unit as being like the pilot's upgrade, Poe does not turn the piloted unit into a leader. So that means the unit can still be bounced by a waylay or killed by something like a Mercer's Contest or Vanquish. And that means that whenever that unit gets defeated, the upgrade instead of going into your discard pile, it's going to come back as a leader exhausted. So that's something worth noticing. One thing interesting is, like, it can be deployed even after the piloted unit is defeated and vice versa. So you can, if the piloted unit gets defeated, your unit comes back into play, your leader comes back into as a leader exhausted, but you still deploy it if you have access to your epic action. So using the upgrade ability does not use your epic action, so it doesn't matter how many times the +2/+1 upgrade is removed. Poe Dameron can just come back into play as a 4/6 once on turn 4 as just a normal deployment. Something very interesting and important to note is that Poe cannot be deployed if Poe is in play. So sorry, the sentence was not finished here, but basically it means that if you have Poe Dameron as an upgrade into play, you cannot deploy him. Obviously, the card does not divide itself. So if it's basically deployed, if it's used as an upgrade using the ability, you cannot deploy it. So this is something that can be abused by an opponent. Let's say your opponent can voluntarily decide to not kill the unit that is upgraded in order to make it so you cannot use your leader deployment. So that's something you're gonna have to understand. Obviously, not killing the unit as a +2/+1 buff is definitely very tough, because there's loads of synergies around pilots. The pilots units can hit very hard. So this is something that is going to be, but this is something you have to understand, of course, about the leader. Sorry. So and the last element is like it has insane synergy with other cards, which we'll talk about later in this video. So obviously, so this leader is, in my opinion, has a lot of good stuff going on. It has good stats when it's deployed. It has, in my opinion, a very strong action ability that can be used. That once again is on the similar power level as Poe Dameron. It deploys on 5, which is relatively early in the game. It has, as I said, an action ability that is relatively similar in power level with Rey and Tarkin. All those elements, and it's also in a very competitive color combination. Here, aggression, heroism is a very powerful color combo, and there's tons of synergies surrounding this leader. So this leader has all the ingredients that he needs to be one of the best leaders in the game. And I say this relatively confidently, and you understand why much later. So for me, it is an amazing leader. You will understand this rating a little bit better as we get into the other new cards that I'm gonna talk about. So now let's get into a brand new card that nobody has ever seen before, and we're gonna talk about Black One. So this is a 2 resources resistance vehicle fighter, which has aggression, heroism, stats 2 attack, 3 health, and while this unit is upgraded, it gets +1 attack +0. It is a resistant vehicle fighter, and he has an ability that says, on attack, if you control Poe Dameron as a unit, upgrade or leader, you may deal 1 damage to a unit, and it is a rare. So first of all, the artwork on this card is great. I really, really love it. Once again, Hameli Hut never disappoints. What a great art. Secondly, it is a space unit, forgot to mention that. And so this is obviously the ideal turn 1 play if you're playing Poe, because obviously you play Poe, and then on turn 2 you can equip you can use Poe's ability to equip Black One, and then Black One will basically get 2 attack. So basically we have 5 attack which is 5 attacks and 4 health, which is very, very threatening. And also, as he attacks, get to deal 1 damage to a unit. So the on-attack ability, by the way, is, in my opinion, it is anecdotal, unless you are playing Tarkin Town. I think it is relatively anecdotal. I mean, it is nice to have, and especially since you don't have to do any efforts to get the ability, because if Poe Dameron is your leader, then very, very easily you're going to have the ping. But I think there's 2 decks that, in my opinion, that are going to be willing to play that card. It is either going to be, obviously, Wedge with his pilot archetypes, which I think, obviously, very strong in, because the Black One becomes pretty much a 3/3 for 2 in a lot of cases. Even if it doesn't have the ping attack, it's okay. And obviously, it's going to be a great card in Poe. So, for me, it's a very solid card. It's nothing crazy. Like, it is, in my opinion, in line with most of the other 2-drops in space in the game. And one of the big inconveniences is, like, it doesn't have the Rebel trait. It has the Resistance trait instead. So, obviously, it makes sense, of course, from a thematic standpoint. But it is nevertheless a big weakness, because as far as we know, and as far as we've seen, Rebel synergies are far, far stronger than the Resistance synergies. So I think this is the only thing that is kind of holding this card back. And obviously, if you're not running any upgrade, then it's just a 2/3 for 2, which is not great. So, but yeah, it's a solid card. It's going to be played in Wedge, and it's going to be played in Poe 100%. Moving on to the other new card. And this card is called Eject. It is a 2 resources command event with the Gambit trait. And the ability reads, detach a pilot upgrade, move it to the ground arena as a unit, and exhaust it. Draw a card. And it is a rare, and it has a pretty cool art from French Carlo Magno. I really like this art as well. You can really read the emotion on the face of the pilots on this illustration, which is, in my opinion, looks really good. As the glass is about to crack. So what can we say about this card? Well, there's so much to say about this card. First of all, let's talk about this card out of the context of a Poe deck, like in any deck, in any pilot deck. I think this card, unfortunately, in a regular pilot deck, is probably going to be too situational. Yes, you're getting some value by basically moving. Usually, pilots upgrades are less expensive as upgrades than they are as units, so you're getting a lot of value by moving it to the ground in some situation, and it also makes it so it's less susceptible to be removed. But you're also paying 2 resources to do that, and it is also quite situational. You get to draw a card in the process, but I think it's going to be too situational and it's not going to provide enough of a swing. It's not something you often want to do. So in my opinion, I don't think Eject is going to see play in a regular kind of pilot upgrade deck. However, in the context of a Poe Dameron deck, this card is insane for very obvious reason. But we're going to run through the sequencing with you guys to make you understand how powerful this is. Turn 1, you start with black 1. No problem, or any other vehicle, space vehicle, doesn't really matter. Any vehicle for that matter, any 2 resource vehicle. Turn 2, you are putting Poe Dameron as an upgrade on black 1 by paying 1 resources. You got 2 resources left. That is just enough resource so you can actually play Eject. And then, as you're ejecting, you are effectively getting a full 6 exhausted into play, and you draw a card. So you can decide to attack first with black 1 before ejecting, so you get the effectively you get to get the bonus. If you're afraid of a removal, you can eject first. Depends on what deck you're playing against. And you effectively get yourself a full 6, and you draw a card for only 2 resources. This value is insane, and the value is completely insane, because that means you get effectively, like, Sabine is currently like one of the most aggressive leader, and basically on turn 3 she deploys as sort of a 3/5. This is going to be he's going to be able to attack on the same turn as Sabine gets to deploy, but he gets to attack before the opponent gets to do anything, because Sabine has to deploy first and then attack, while Poe Dameron will be ready at the beginning of turn 3, sorry. And it's not a 3/5, it's a 4/6, which is obviously better. And you draw a card in the process. And not only that, you haven't used your epic ability. You have not used your epic ability. That means that you are able to, let's say your opponent deals with Poe Dameron later on, kills Poe Dameron, well, you can deploy Poe Dameron after. You might not be able to deploy Poe Dameron on 5 because your opponent might not have killed Poe Dameron on turn 4, but just the ability to come out like this with a 4/6 draw cards for 3 resources, because it's 1 resources for the upgrade, 2 resources for the eject, is insane. So obviously it's not unconditional. You need to have a a vehicle to be able to do that. But that is very easy to do. You just play a deck with a bunch of vehicles, early game vehicles, and that combination becomes incredibly difficult to play around. If your does not find a removal for black 1 on turn 1, you are in a lot of trouble. And once again, if you deal with that unit, that's fine. I'll play another 2-drop. I'll re-equip the thing the next turn. I can retry the combo again next turn. Like, it's never ending. It's just and even after Poe Dameron has been defeated as a leader, so even after the epic action has been used, you can still go for that combo. You can still eject Poe Dameron as an upgrade and turning into a unit. That is, in my opinion, one of the strongest combos I've ever seen. It's very low card incentive. All you need to draw is eject. So that's basically the only combo piece that you need to draw. Since I'm assuming the vast majority of your deck is going to be made of vehicle, you need to have a vehicle in play and eject in hand. That's all you need. And what you're getting is you're drawing a card, you're putting a 4/6 into play super early on in the game, putting tons of pressure on the opponent. It is, in my opinion, one of the strongest combos I've ever seen in Star Wars Unlimited, and I'm very excited to see how it's going to turn out for Constructed. So my ranking for Eject, I mean, you guys are not going to be surprised. I think this card is amazing. Once again, I don't think it's playable outside of Poe, but in the context of a Poe deck, it is one of the strongest combo piece I've ever seen in Star Wars Limited, and for that reason alone deserved an amazing rating. I think the Poe deck is going to be very, very competitive. Let me show you how a Poe deck would look like if I was going to build a deck, and let's say, obviously it's a first draft, it's not refined, I've never played with this deck, so I actually don't know how strong that is, but to kind of give you an example of what kind of deck you can build with this. So this is a Poe Dameron ECL deck that's kind of, as you can see, we are playing, we're playing tons of 2-drop in space with 3 Black 1, 3 Alliance X-Wing, 3 Squadron A-Wing, 3 Y-Wings. So we have like very consistently we can pull off the combo. 3 Eject, obviously. We also have Battlefield Marine just as a way to kind of like mix it up and kind of arena dodge in some situations. Obviously ECL early on in the game can allow us to take over the game early on. We have Poe Dameron Wrecker ECL combo, which is obviously insane. We have tons of way to completely get out of control if your opponent does not deal with the 2-drop in space. We can follow up with Wing Leader or Chewbacca to turn those 2 drops into insane cards. And then we got a bunch of 3 drops that are just great. Falcon, we get +1 attack whenever it has a pilot on it. We got the Red 3. If we manage to go wide, we got Leia that allows us to attack and restore while putting a 3/4 restore walls on the board. Leia Organa also works on Poe, so let's say you manage to do the Eject combo Poe, then on a turn after you can just play Leia so you can attack with Poe, so your opponent gets punished by not dealing with Poe, which is very strong. We also got obviously Blue Leader, probably one of the best cards in the set in my opinion, just an amazing piece of interaction for the opponent. So this is a deck that has the ability to interact with the opponent in key moments, notably with ECL and Blue Leader. And it's a very, very aggressive deck that opponent does not answer the card at the right moment, he will get absolutely smashed, and we can finish the game with 4 cards I believe in, as the deck is almost entirely made of heroism cards, at the exception of Eject. We also have Cassian for extra reach, and we also play 2 copies of Trench Run, which I think can be very powerful whenever you manage to get like a fighter that has like 3 health or more. We can really play Trench Run and do some crazy stuff. Trench Run might be 2 situation, needs to be tested. Like, once again, it's kind of a first draft. It's nothing final. But I think this is like, give you an idea of what the kind of deck we're looking to see. Being able to get like this insane early game package with those great insane combo with Eject. And then at the same time, get this absurd Poe ECL, Wrecker ECL shenanigans going on. Going into turn 4 and turn 5. That is, in my opinion, very, very powerful. So that's all I have to say about these new cards. Hopefully there are other ways to play them, and obviously there's going to be plenty of other ways to play Poe. Maybe Polo is going to be stronger with yellow. This is another path you can take, as long as you I mean, Eject is kind of like needed for the deck to function, I would say. So I have a hard time seeing Poe Dameron being played outside of green, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you so much for following that video, and I'll see you next time.